Hi, and welcome to Jazz Tonight. I'm Michael Jacobi, executive producer of Jazz on the Plaza and host of Raising the Standards on KCAT Radio in Santa Cruz. Delighted to have you with us this day as we continue our homage to the great Ella Fitzgerald for Jazz on the Plaza. Although once a year we take a break from traditional jazz and do what we call Blue Wednesday. And that's tonight with a dear friend, Chris Cain. How are you, buddy?
Fine, Michael. Thank you.
You look great.
Thank you, sir.
You had a long day. You were in Squaw Valley a scant 5 hours ago.
Yeah, but you know, Susie does all driving and stuff. So, for me, it's I just I'm sitting in a car, but it's not really that exhausting.
It's like Amtrak, but less food.
Yes, it is.
We've known each other for years, Chris. When I was running KPEN, which was 30 years ago,
Great
in the old
station.
middle of Mountain View, which was one of really, and not because of me, but one of the last great stations.
It was awesome.
I was talking to Tony Lindsay about it because there was actually a time when radio stations would take local talent and play their product.
And they had people that were on the station that were like personalities that you would wait to hear every day, and they would play, what they liked, and it wasn't just the same list of tunes.
It wasn't beautiful. Beige and all call letters and time.
Yeah, it was really great. I mean, I started thinking about that a couple of months ago. How great FM radio used to be, like
with K-Pig and all those great stations. Yeah. You grew up. Did you grow up in Memphis?
No, my father.
Your dad's from Memphis, right?
My dad's from Alexandria, Louisiana. Then, before he was a teenager, he moved to Memphis, and he grew up on Beale Street. My great aunt.
He literally grew up on Beale Street.
Yeah, right over the Busy Bee cab place. And my great aunt, Ethel Vincent, there's like a sign that was on Beale Street. She used to throw this thing called the Cotton Carnival Jubilee, and it was like the carnival for the people of color, right?
Yeah.
And so I would see these programs in his bedroom, and I didn't know. And then it turns out that when I went to Memphis, these two little ladies came in these pillbox hats. It was like my aunt, and I had never really known her, and she was really had done big things.
Now, was your dad a musician?
My dad was a truck driver.
Okay.
But he loved blues. I mean, he just loved the music. So he bought a guitar and an amp, and what he did was he figured out a set of tunes, like not being a musician, like these little arrangements. And then on Sunday, he put his tie on and he would sit in the garage and play his set.
So self-taught.
Set, So first thing he showed me was Baby Please Don't Go in the Key of E, his little arrangement, And I mean, it's just for him to just dig it that much that he figured out a way to play these songs. I just think it's, now when I think about it, I think it's amazing.
And your mom, was she in the picture?
Yeah, my mom, they met when he came to California for the Navy.
Okay.
And so that's when they met, and then that's when I came along,
Siblings?
Yeah, I had two older brothers, and I was the only guy that was crazy enough to lock himself in a room with a record player,
Yeah. Now, tell me about, was this an epiphany from the beginning? Was it like, this is what I love?
No, but I mean, I loved the guitar from the moment I started playing it.
At what age?
8 years old.
Okay.
And then really around the time I was 10, this is when I really started, trying to figure things out and that kind of thing. But I always loved it. And my dad would take me, like whenever B.B. King played at the Civic Auditorium with Ray Charles, we never missed that. And so, but he would take me to places and just sit me in front of the bands. And like he wouldn't say, this is something that I dig, I want you to like it. But he would just, kind of just sit me there and to see, what it was. And so I got to see a lot of really great things when I was little that were amazing. And he was just great like that. And because he loved it like that, I heard a lot of, because he had all the great records. He had a great record player that was super loud.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was just really lucky that, because he loved it a lot. I mean, he'd work all week, like driving truck, and then when the weekend came, he put his records on, get his guitar on, he would play his little thing. But I mean, he was really loved that music.
Your brother and sister, I assume, or
Huh?
did you have two brothers?
Yeah, two brothers.
Two brothers, and they play?
No.
No. And your mom?
But they know every note of the records that when we listen to these records, it's like we're digging the same thing, but I was just the only one crazy enough.
Now, did you have a formal training on the guitar?
No, I learned everything by ear, and then, I really couldn't communicate with other musicians, like beyond playing maybe a blues or something. And I went to see this thing called the Guitar Explosion. It was T-Bone Walker, Shuggy Otis, it was a bunch of guys, Lee Ritenour, all these guys. But all these people had to play with the same rhythm section. It was a jazz rhythm section. And the blues guys kind of couldn't communicate, so their set wasn't really. And then Robin came out there and whispered something, and it was like an instant arrangement. And I just thought, I got to figure out how to speak this lingo because I couldn't even communicate like that. So that's when I went to school,
Well, Mose Allison, I know you admire as I do, and we do miss him. He was here 3 times.
He's
nice man.
such an interesting person.
But he told me the story about when he got his first gig in New York was with Chet Baker, and they put the music in front of him, and he goes, "I don't read music."
Yeah, but he was like such an amazing.
Extraordinary.
I think he sounds great with on those records with Chet and stuff.
Now, so when you went to school, you learned to read music, and big difference, big effect then?
Yeah.
Or did you just tell you what you were doing,
But
which
for
made
me,
it easier to write?
Well, what happened was, like, they would play it like one time, and then I would memorize it. You know what I mean? Because that's what I would normally do. I'd just learn it and memorize it. So I wasn't really sight reading it. You know what I mean? After I heard it one time, then I was already trying to memorize it. And you have to kind of do that stuff every day and look at different music all the time. And I just, as soon as I see the page, I just turn to,
So when you write stuff now, I mean, you write it out.
What I do is I have a little studio, and I just make a demo of the musical portion, and then I just write the lyrics in a book,
Now, guitar was the first thing you picked up, but hardly the last. Now you play piano,
Well,
tenor and alto, right?
Alto.
Alto.
But I just there's not enough hours in the day. I would probably play. I love to do that more than just about anything, really.
Talk about some of those early memories with your dad. Was your mom a big blues fan?
Oh yeah, she was. One time, I was doing this gig with Jimmy Witherspoon.
Sure.
And they love Jimmy Witherspoon. And so I was doing this thing for 6 days in San Francisco at the Kimball's. And so the first thing when Spoon came in, because I loved him, you know what I mean? And the other fellas didn't really know who he was, but when he came in, I wanted to do really well, so I asked him, I said, would you like me to play this or this? Or he goes, I can't tell you how to play your instrument. And I was like, so then after that, every time somebody clipped a note, he would think it was me because it must be the guy that didn't know what the hell to do, right? Yeah. So I mentioned that to my mom, and then one day I see Spoon in the lobby, and he's reading this letter to Patrick Ford, and he's like, and it's telling him all this stuff, and I hear what he's reading, and I call my mom, I go, Mom, did you write a letter to Spoon? And she goes, yes, I did. Because she goes, how'd you know? I said, I heard like 3 of your fastballs right in the first paragraph.
That's great.
He was shaking. He's like, listen, now this is my mom, she was, but yeah, and she was like a singer, and her and my aunt, so they were like song people. So like Ella Fitzgerald and Sarah Vaughan, who I love, and I would be watching them on Mike Douglas or something, and she'd go, I don't know why they don't sing the melody. The melody is so beautiful. It's like she just,
She probably was getting ready to write him a letter.
I swear.
Talk to me a little bit about the vocalists and those. Well, you and I are pretty close to the same age as my guess. So when your dad's taking those places, there's a lot of those Chitlin circuits. So you might have been the only white guy in the room, you and your dad.
Well, my dad, he would say to me, he'd say, on Christmas night, he said, put your suit on. And I put my suit on, and we went to the fairgrounds, and it was James Brown. When they had just done Papa's Got a Brand New Bag, 2 drummers, it was like terrifying in there. But it was just, and he would just expose me to that stuff, And then him being a black gentleman in a suit, guys would just think he was in the band, so he could just come and go as he wanted to, And we had a bunch of experience. Like, I mean, he took me back to meet Albert King and Freddie King one time, and it was just amazing. I mean, you know, I shook Albert King's hand. It was like sticking your hand in a beanbag chair. It was like giant, you know. And my dad was just beautiful like that, you know. Just took me to a lot of things like that, really, you know.
We're talking to Chris Cain. Chris Cain's here with his band. How big's the band tonight?
It is 4 pieces.
4 pieces. All right. And Chris has been at Jazz on the Plaza before and just killed. And we're so excited he's here. Here comes the usual disclaimer that you can set your watch by, because by the time you see this interview, he would have been long gone. You're about to head up to Canada for a tour, right?
Yeah, we're going to go to Canada and then supposed to go to Russia.
Oh.
Yes.
Good. Make sure you vote while you're over there.
I'm just thinking, you know, still I need to do with
The Russians, because they can sing the blues.
I was just, you know, I could just see me getting over there, and then suddenly a fracas breaks out. There I am over there, you know.
There you are. We'll talk more to Chris in just a second. A big thank you to the folks at the Pruneyard Cinemas and the Cedar Room, who were kind enough to underwrite Jazz tonight this season. Yesterday, I went to see, we were talking off camera about Spike Lee's new film, The Black Klansman, which is a wonderful film, a great soundtrack. And I saw it at the theaters and had dinner in my seat at the theaters, and the food was spectacular. And yeah, I had a little tequila there as well. So that's not a bad way to see a movie, I got to tell you. Pruneyard Cinemas. Let's talk a little more about them. We'll be right back to Jazz Tonight.
Hello, and welcome to Pruneyard Cinemas, Silicon Valley's most unique movie-going experience, and the South Bay's only service-to-your-seat luxury theater. Since this concept is probably new to many of you, let me take a moment to help you make the most of your visit. At the Pruneyard, the show starts long before the film begins. From our media wall in our lobby, keeping you up to date on happenings here at the theater, to our concessions area, which is, well, pretty special. Oh, you had dinner and cocktails in mind? Well, you came to the right place. Our chef-driven kitchen and Cedar Room offers seasonal bites which pair perfectly with our craft cocktails, draft beers, and local wines, and are all available at the bar and at your seat. It's really quite simple. If you'd like something from concession, something from the kitchen, or from the bar, just press the call button to your right, and one of our servers will be with you in no time. So that's it, just place your order. Thank you. They will be back with your check long before that critical scene in the movie. Our goal is to not disrupt you or your neighbor's experience. So just put up your feet and enjoy the show.
And we're back on Jazz Tonight with our friend Chris Cain, and who's here this evening for the Jazz on the Plaza with the Chris Cain Band. So you talk about locking yourself in a room and playing music.
Yeah, I was a nut. Just, you know, I mean, I was like so like, anal about it, you know what I mean? And I was a kid, but I mean, I was trying to learn this stuff, and the guys that I played with, you know, and then I'd go see Freddie King, and I go, you know, it doesn't sound like that, though, you know, because they're like 35 years old, and you're 17, Christopher. You know, but I locked myself in a room, and I had to know that I had it right, you know what I mean?
But at what point did you come out of the room and say, I'm going to please somebody in addition to myself?
Well, you know, like all the cats that I know that play today, like they were always like, that guy's always going to be in his room practicing. Because I just was like, you know, I mean, until I know that I am up to code, I'm not going to go, you know, flying my plane. But then when I started playing, I had a really great time. The first time I ever played with live people, we went into my room, 2 pals of mine, and played one tune, a shuffle, for like a whole reel of tape. Just one tune. It was just like, I mean, I don't know how long that is, but that's like a couple hours.
There is a fascinating camaraderie, and I think it's probably true of all business, whether it's comedians or vocalists, but guitar players are very interesting. You know my son, Kennedy, and I introduced him to Les Paul one day. And it was like, I wasn't in the room. Oh, you play? And it's really quite extraordinary.
Les Paul was like, I mean, he's like a teenager all of his life. I mean, you know, it's like that thing where he's playing with Jeff Beck and all these guys at some rock thing, and then Jeff Beck starts playing, and he's playing some stuff, and then Les Paul just comes over and just pulls his chord out of the guitar, you know, like, and he's like, it was just, he's just a funny, and he invented all of these things that
Yeah.
we take for granted now. It's like, I mean, he was an amazing brain, but I mean, he played his butt off. Like, you know, when he had that accident, had his hand set so
He couldn't play chords
so
anymore, right?
no, but it was like he just he couldn't bend his elbow
Yeah.
after that. So he just said, set it so that I can always play guitar.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't bend. This arm just stayed like that. But he was amazing, man. I mean, every Monday at the club in New York, and I mean until I guess he passed away. But
Yeah.
that guy
Oh,
was-
at the Iridium. Yeah. Best show, regardless of the style of music, best live show you ever saw.
man, I saw.
You saw James Brown. That'd be pretty big.
And you know, I saw like B.B. King a bunch of times
Yeah.
when it was really amazing. But man, I don't know if I can. Well, I'll just say one of them was this time I saw Freddie King and B.B. King at Winterland, and
Oh, yeah.
and they both played together, and they built this thing up, and then at the end they both broke an E string at the same time. And so they stopped playing, and then Freddie King is shaking people's hands, and BB's handing out these picks, and all these guys are just dropping these picks, like they're just dropping all over the floor. I must have got 20 of these things. I was like, just pushing guys out of the way, you know what I mean? But yeah, it was like, that was amazing. And that night when BB King played this one blues, he cried. I mean, it was like, I was standing right there, and I was just like, it was amazing. I mean, I knew those guys were amazing, but that was just like,
Guys like classic rockers like Clapton and Alvin Lee, those guys have an effect on you.
you know, I was like the first things that I ever learned on the guitar. One was on the Boogie with the Canned Heat record, some guitar solo by Sunflower, and then Alvin Lee when I saw Woodstock. You know what I mean? It's like Woodstock just was like a thing, and but then my father always had all these blues records, and so. I mean, I just kept going back to B.B. King and Albert King all the time, you know, and it was like...
Biggest regret of someone you didn't see?
Cannonball Adderley at Keystone
or
Corner.
Coltrane would have been nice.
Because I saw Robin one week at Keystone Corner, and the next week was going to be Cannonball, and I thought, you know, I'll see him next time he comes.
Yeah. I would have liked to have seen Sam Cooke.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
too young when he
My
passed.
God, you know... I met Bobby Brooks Wilson,
Yeah.
Jackie Wilson's son, and like he was saying that Sam Cooke has a daughter, Carla Cooke, that is like an amazing singer.
Oh, yeah, she's a great jazz singer, yeah.
Wow, it's just that's very cool because I mean that album Night Beat that he did is like one of my all-time favorites, you know.
So you're in your room with a small but enthusiastic crowd of two friends, and it's going well. What's the next move? I mean, do you form a group? Do you join a group?
No, you know, but I knew right then that I loved to play with people. It was like, you know, I think anytime you play with like another human being and you do like a whole night of music, it's like you went to war or something. You're bonded in a way because you have to kind of pay attention to each other. You have to connect to make it do something, you know what I mean? And I've always enjoyed, you know, for me, I thought the best thing for me would be if I could play well enough where guys that I think play good thought I played good.
Yeah.
And that would be...
That's the highest
that
praise.
would be great for me, you know what I mean? And so I mean, I just love to play with different people. And stuff.
You know what's interesting? We talked about James Brown. When people from one genre do something that's totally out of left field, and James Brown, I don't know if you ever heard it. I just found it on where I found it. I play it on the air once in a while. James Brown did an album of standards.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was great with A Cottage for Sale.
Yeah, man. You know, and he also did a big band album with Louis Belson's
did he
band.
really?
With
Oh,
Louis
I've never
Belson.
heard that.
And it's like they got these arrangements and things. It's you know, it's fantastic, man.
CDs. How many CDs you got?
Maybe like 9 or 10 or something. But, you know, 12?
12?
12.
Okay. Apparently there was 2 just came off the press. I see why Susie's here, by the way.
Yeah, she's the brains of the outfit for sure. I don't even know where I am. You know?
So, in the blues, are CD sales a big deal, or is it all live when you? I mean,
Well,
that's when you sell
I mean,
them. I mean,
I've never, you know, I mean, to me it was like I was going door to door,
Yeah.
like selling maybe 2 here, there, you know what I mean? If I went somewhere with like 90 CDs, I'd come home with 86. You know what I mean? But I wasn't really a good salesman. You know? My sales play was more like, you probably
don't
you
want this.
probably want this. You know, so you don't move a lot of them that way. You know, it's like, but that was me. You know, what I mean, I just. Everyone that I made has been. I mean, I love to go in the studio. I love to record. It's always a great experience. I love it. But it wasn't until this last record I made that like it seemed like all of a sudden it was all over the place. And I asked Susan. I said, you know, I made these other ones, and she said, yeah, but that was like before internet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now with internet, it's like, I mean, just and nothing's. This last year, I played more than I've ever played.
How many days a year are you on the road?
Not a lot, but I mean, this last year I've played like normally if I played, I'd play like maybe on a Wednesday and then maybe on the Saturday, and then there'd be like maybe a week or two I didn't play, then I might play on a Saturday. But this last year, I mean, I played more dates than I've ever played. I had more fun playing the guitar than when I was 12 years old or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I really had a blast this year, but.
I will say this to you folks, that if you saw tonight's show, he speaks in the future tense, and you, trust me, you will have loved it. You perform relatively regularly, and a dear friend of ours, Jay Maduri, is down at the Poorhouse Bistro.
Yes.
Which is a great blues club.
But I'm telling you, how I found out about
My
it.
son runs the bar, so it's easy for me.
I love, I mean, you know, when he came there, it was like, just great. I mean, I love that guy. He's like a wonderful person, man. And Jay, you know, that place is wonderful because that's where all the guys that you know are playing. So you can go down there on any night and see, you know, Gary Smith or guys that you know what I mean? I think Jay's a really great person to have a chance to work at a place.
Is the state of the blues, a lot of young people picking it up?
Yeah,
Or-
you know, I mean, it's.
The reason I ask, because I'm involved, obviously, with this, but with Monterey Jazz as well. And the Blues Festival, which was very hot for years in Monterey, just kind of petered out because there are less and less icons.
It's, you know, and right now it's a strange thing because, you know, B.B. King passing away and things like that, you know, it's, but I mean, I know guys that are like, they're like my kids. You know, they come to my house, we play guitar, they play, and, you know, they play tons of blues and stuff, you know. So I think that there are still young people that
Is series a great factor now that you can get all blues stations?
Oh,
And
yeah.
Susie talked about the internet.
I think that's, you know, that's awesome. I mean, you know, because I always just thought it would be great if you could just have a channel where you just heard,
Right.
you know, like the Ella channel, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, Ella Fitzgerald, I mean, some of my best, like, licks and patterns that I play over minor chords and things, I got from Ella Fitzgerald and Sarah Vaughan.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, she was like the greatest saxophone player in the world or something, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
I guess we're at a point in life where bucket lists are either getting shorter or longer, but what's on your list?
man, I would just like to play for as many people that would like to listen to it.
For as long as you can.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I really enjoyed that. You know, the first maybe 20 years that I played, I never opened my eyes. I had my sunglasses on. You know, people could have left. And I wouldn't. You know, I would. You know, but one day I opened my eyes and I looked at the crowd and I saw people smiling and things. And I mean, it was like it took me that long to, and then I felt like I could actually connect with, you know, people I wasn't even noticing.
Sound of applause and the sound of laughter are the same, and that you've reached them.
And, you know, I mean, every time somebody comes and says, God, I had such a crummy day, and you brought me so much joy tonight, you know, and I'm just like, that makes me happier than just about anything. I mean, because...
Well, joy will abound tonight at Jazz on the Plaza, and just delighted to see you, my friend.
Thank you very
Brother,
much,
you look
Michael.
great.
It's dark in here.
It's good.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Michael.
or as we say, you easily abused. Chris Cain and the Chris Cain Band. That's Jazz Tonight. We're going to wrap it up next week. I can't believe this is the last week. Pete Escovedo will be with us, an encore. I haven't seen him for a few years either. So we're looking forward to seeing Pete and moving on. Until then, I'm Jacobi. I'll see you soon.